Satyabhama Institute of Science and Technology, Chennai.
Morning, Captain.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
Can there be two captains?
If there's enough space.
The all-new 6-seater MG Hector Plus. It's a human thing.
डिशवॉशर है ना, जितनी स्क्रबिंग उतनी सफाई। इसमें आपके बेटे ने दाल मखनी जलाई थी, फिर भी चकाचक।
Bosch, Indian kitchen का डिशवॉशर।
With that, we come to the awards ceremony. 47 winners across 3 categories. These names are being read out in an alphabetical order. And we begin with our first category, India's most powerful women in business and economy. And the winner is Ms. Abanti Sankaranarayanan, Chief Strategy and Corporate Affairs Officer, Diageo, India. Ms. Abanti also interacted with the top leadership of the India Today group, including Mr. Arun Puri. Let's quickly take a look.
On one side, they want the revenue. On the other side, it's considered as sin goods, right? So there's a real conflict in the states. And for you, of course, you want to promote the usage of alcohol. But how do you deal with that with the governments?
Yeah, so 2 ways, I suppose. One is by really sort of showing that there is a harmonious balance that can be struck between the social objectives of the government and the the revenue objectives, and that harmonious way is what we believe as Diageo as well is really encouraging premiumization, and therefore really sort of having policies and alcohol regulation that encourages consumers to drink better, not more. And that obviously talks to our portfolio as well, because we are in the premium space.
Abanti, I had a question in terms of, I don't know if you saw the India Today cover, where we discussed whether cannabis should be legalized. Where do you stand on this debate, given the high-profile arrests in Bollywood and everything else on the basis of cannabis consumption?
I don't honestly have a personal view on this. I think the only thing I would say is whatever you do on regulation, I think enforcement needs to be there. And the thing that we've seen in our industry is, you have a lot of regulation and our industry needs it. And potentially you could say cannabis and other forms of, maybe milder drugs, etc. also needed. But I think the trick is, are you able to enforce it? And so my biggest learning is you can have a lot of regulation, but the enforcement tends to be weak, and that then defeats the purpose. So I think before the regulation question, governments really need to assess whether they will be able to enforce it. And I think the evidence on that is mixed.
And I now request Mr. Puri to hand over the virtual trophy to Abanti.
Congratulations to you. Congratulations.
I've got it from Mr. Puri. Thank you.
And the next winner in the same category is Ms. Aarthi Subramanian, Group Chief Digital Officer, Tata Sons. And our next winner in the same category, India's most powerful women in business and economy, is Ms. Anuradha Razdan, Executive Director, Human Resources, Hindustan Unilever Limited. Well, many congratulations, Ms. Razdan. She also interacted with the top leadership, including the chairperson and the editor-in-chief of the India Today group, Ms. Kali Puri and Mr. Arun Puri. Let's take a look.
Tell me, what is your view on working from home in the future? Is that going to be the new normal, and how many people in HUL work from home? I understand factories can't work at home, but other than that, what is the thinking in HUL about this?
So, Mr. Puri, in HUL, we have had these policies in place for a long time. What this pandemic has done is really put into fifth gear and demonstrated that we can do this at scale. The offtake of these was previously maybe 10%, 15%, but this has really shown that everyone can do it. At HUL, our view is that, it's too early to take a point of view one way or another. And I think either is a dogma, either 100% work from home or insisting after now that everybody has to be in office all the time. Both ends are a dogma. And we have to give people the flexibility, but equally there are teams who must be in office, sales teams, teams in factories. But when our frontline people are in the field and in factories, I think symbolically also it's important that the leadership be there. The second aspect is a lot of innovation and creativity happens by serendipity. So off the chance interactions that happen over a cup of tea in different parts of our campus. And I think that is lost when you start working from home because it all becomes so just business focused and so transactional. So I think we are really in a space of saying that a lot more flexibility is possible, and flexibility should never come in the way of an employee wanting to work for us. But will that be the principal way we approach work? I don't think so.
Like, what is the one thing that you have found which is the most important for keeping your people safe?
I think that we think that people are really intelligent and that there is a lot of information and that people will figure things out for themselves. But one of the things that we learned was that, like they say, everybody is going to a trusted brand. I think employees also look for a very credible source of information and they suddenly look to the organization for everything. So reinforcing simple things like do's, don'ts, actually telling people, have you thought of your red button plan? If you and your husband both get sick, who's going to look after the kids? Have a plan, think about it, even if it feels like you are spoon feeding adults, intelligent adults. We had to approach it like that.
I'd request Mr. Puri to hand over the virtual trophy.
Okay, this is the trophy. I'm virtually handing it to you.
Thank you so much.
And our next winner in the same category, India's most powerful women in business and economy, is Ms. Aparna Purohit, Head of India Originals, Amazon Prime Video. Many congratulations, Ms. Purohit. She also interacted with the top leadership of the India Today group. Let's take a look.
How many India originals will you launch this year?
So, we've already launched quite a few actually. And we have the big one, which is Mirzapur 2 coming up, on 23rd of October. Before that, we have a show called JPP Sons of Soil, which is a docu-follow on the Jaipur Pink Panther, which is coming out on the 9th of October. Those are for certain. Other than that, we're working with our partners, our producing partners, to see how we can quickly get as many shows as possible.
Aparna, any new insights on the Indian viewer? Has he reacted or been different through the corona crisis? Maybe more experimental, maybe watching more? Like what are the insights that you can give us about the Indian consumer?
I'd say quite a few insights. The first one being that there is a voracious appetite, and the Indian viewer wants to watch all kinds, of stuff. So it's not just one genre that works or the other genre that doesn't work. We want to watch all kinds of shows. The second is that Indian viewer wants to consume content in the language that they are most comfortable with. So, that was a big learning. The Telugu audience, the Tamil audiences, the Hindi audiences, each one of them wants to consume content in the language that they are most comfortable with. The third thing is that, good characters and good stories work. The geographic boundaries, it transcends all boundaries of nationality, ethnicity, geography, everything. Good content always resonates. Good characters always resonate.
I'd request Mr. Puri to hand over the virtual trophy.
Aparna, this is for you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, sir. What an honor this is. And what an honor to be recognized for just being an enabler to tell good stories. Thank you.
Our next winner is Ms. Daisy Chittilapilly, Managing Director, Digital Transformation Office, Cisco India and SARC. And here's a quick snapshot of her interaction with the top leadership of the India Today group.
What's been the most interesting requirement you may have heard for digital transformation in these times from your clients, from your people who you are supplying your processes to and your networks to?
So I think we've had 3 constituents talking to us during the last 5 to 6 months. The first, naturally, are the people that we do business with. And for them, I mean, I'm not sure if all of you are working from office or working from home, but this push to move India suddenly from physical spaces to virtual offices in their houses has been the first requirement. And naturally, we were at the forefront of supporting our partners and our customers through that journey. But I think the more interesting work that I've done and my team has done, and Cisco in broader sense has done, is how we've been able to help both the government carry on its interventions and governance during the COVID period. Whether that's setting up war rooms, whether that's getting first responders, including policemen, etc., to be able to coordinate and respond, whether it's been, at the front line of the health effort, the health crisis management effort, whether it's connecting doctors, nurses, ambulance drivers all together to be able to respond as quickly. And one of the things about COVID was that people were also learning about the disease as they were responding to the disease. So as much as it was real-time communication, it was also all of the coming up to speed and learning about the illness and learning about the protocol. So there's a great element of education going on as they were, as they were responding to the crisis. And at the height of the lockdown in March, across the world, I think some 1.5 billion students were impacted. India was no less. So we had to quickly take even some of our assets that we give away free, syllabus that we give away free in the country for skilling like NetAcad. We had to find a way to deliver that remotely, because it's otherwise done through a physical classroom in technical institutions. We quickly had to port it to the government skilling portal and start delivering classes from there, and also use that same platform to allow higher education institutes and schools to deliver content to their regular students.
What are the obstacles which have been on the way for you to, go through this kind of rapid digital transformation? Because, you really had to scale up very fast.
So, Mr. Puri, my team's job is to go into sectors where technology is underpenetrated or doesn't really come to play. So, I think proving that the technology works, that's one part of it. But I also think stakeholder management and change management is an equally interesting and challenging part of the job.
May I request Mr. Puri to hand over the virtual trophy as well to you?
This is the trophy. Congratulations.
Look at this.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. All the best.
Congratulations again for the honor. Thank you again for the honor.
And our next winner in the same category, Most Powerful Women in Business and Economy, is Ms. Debjani Ghosh, President of NASSCOM. Ms. Ghosh also caught up with Mr. Puri, Ms. Kalipuri, Mr. Rajchingappa and Mr. Dubey earlier in the day. Let's quickly take a look at the interaction.
How has the corona affected your industry, and what has kind of NASSCOM done during this time?
So interestingly, we are the only industry, I hate saying it this way, but we are the only industry that seems to, where the growth opportunities have accelerated significantly because of the pandemic.
Right.
There's tremendous growth opportunities, but the opportunities look very different from the opportunities of the past, which means the playbooks, the talent that will be required to go out and convert these opportunities into business is going to be very different from what we are used to. And I think right now, that's the single biggest focus which NASSCOM or even the industry has. So frankly, if you ask me, that's right now job one for all of us.
I think NASSCOM is your industry is the one which is actually hiring people, isn't it? Large number of people.
Industry is hiring people because, as I said, the jobs are changing so fast. The skill set requirements that we have is looking very different from the skills that we have. So our industry is not only investing big time in reskilling, but we are also trying to build the talent. We are trying to buy the talent that we do not have. So, but it's difficult, Mr. Puri, because our colleges do not prepare kids for the kind of talent that we need. So that's the biggest challenge. If you talk to any of the IT CEOs today, the biggest challenge today is people and ability to get the right people. So that's something we are working on.
Can I now request Mr. Puri to hand over the trophy virtually to Debjani?
Jani, this is your trophy. I'm handing it to you virtually, which you...
Thank you very much. Really appreciate, and congratulations, Mr. Puri and the entire team for doing what you do. It makes a big difference to have a platform for, where women can also voice their opinions and be seen. So thank you for that.
Our next winner is Gargi Banerjee Dasgupta, Director IBM Research India and CTO IBM India and South Asia. Here's a quick snapshot from her interaction with the leadership.
What has been your biggest learning from this Corona lockdown?
I think my biggest learning is that how fluid our work and personal life schedules can be. I mean, for the longest period of time, personal time just flew into work and work just flew into personal time. And I think my biggest learning is that can still work as long as you're able to allocate and take the time up for the right things.
Tell us a little bit about the project debater and what is going on with Watson in AI.
Yeah, I'd love to. Actually, I'll tell you. Did any of you watch US Open? I don't know how many of you realized. Yeah. So I'll actually start with US Open. So in US Open this year, IBM and USTA, they brainstormed a lot and they said, okay, totally new experience, right? Fanless stadiums. How can we still bring that digital experience to all our fans? So there were 3 techniques that were used, and of course, at least 2 of them were developed by research. The first one is easier, right? So every time there was a good shot, there was a sound that was getting generated. That was actually generated by the AI, but it was not a static sound. So it would actually figure out who won that point. Was it a forehand shot? Was it a serve ace? And then go back in history, learn how people used to clap and then generate that sound.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah, it's very cool. I love that. So that was the first thing. The second thing was called Match Insight. So for example, a fan could come and say, Serena Williams, the best player on the world. And there's really no easy question, right? Because you could like Serena or you could not. So it actually would go through all the news articles and create a summary, like a pro paragraph that which says, yes, Serena is probably the best because of ABC. Then a cons, well, she's not the best because her USTA rankings have been slipping, and then create a summary for you. So this technology actually, Rajiv, was born in Debater. So we took the Debater technology and we can now use it in other interesting use cases.
So, Ms. Puri, would you like to hand over the virtual trophy to Gargi?
Gargi, this is virtually offering it to you. Congratulations. Keep up the great work. And we keep...
and I accept it. Yeah, thank you so much.
New things you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a big honor, sir. I mean, I grew up reading, of course, India Today. So it's great to be on the screen.
Our next winner is Ms. Geeta Manjunath, founder and CEO and CTO of Niramai Health Analytics. Many congratulations, Ms. Manjunath. She also met up with the leadership of the India Today group. Please take a look.
What is the percentage of this? You've done a lot of scans.
Yes.
People who've turned out to be positive on breast cancer.
Yeah, so far we've done 32,000 plus women. And this ranged from villages to corporate camps and also hospitals. In cancer hospitals, when you actually do the screening, it's like almost like 25 to 30% cancer rate. But when you do in corporate camps and all, we will say 1 in 25 roughly. That's been the rate so far.
One final question. What's the next big thing you want to do?
I want to sort of really, this is my lifetime, mission right now to actually, the biggest thing I want to do is throw away breast cancer deaths from India, sir. Because I think women don't take care of their health, and if women are ill, the whole family is ill in some fashion, right? It's get affected. So I think that's to sort of really make breast cancer screening a policy in India every year being done, and if possible, get government support for it. I think that's sort of the biggest thing that I want to attack.
I will now request Chairman Mr. Puri to hand over the virtual
giving it to you, Geeta.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
You're doing amazing work. Amazing work.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Declare your blessings and
all the best for your work.
Our next winner is Miss Ipsita Dasgupta, Country Manager, India, Apple Services. She caught up with the leadership of the India Today group. Take a look.
Tell us a little bit about the difference between working in China and working in India.
Yeah, they're fascinating and very different in some ways and very similar in some ways. There's such big markets. I was with GE with both, and I think the biggest difference I've seen is the sort of enormous focus on execution and just driving to goals in China that kind of move very fast on things like infrastructure and industrial. And in India, just the incredible growth of the software ecosystem, the startup ecosystem, and just growing from ground up, which is fascinatingly different about the two markets.
Ipsita, what are the big lessons you've learned on COVID? I know you've been only 4 months with Apple, but I'm sure these 4 months, like for all of us, has been a tremendous amount of movement and energy. What is the big lessons you've learned?
Around COVID?
Yeah, from COVID and to run a place.
Yeah, I think, it's been interesting. I think we're all still just learning and adapting. But I think one of the things everybody has been writing about and talking about is definitely true, which is this idea that women are faced with even more challenges than they were probably faced with before COVID. And if you especially think about the Indian context, we have so many more stakeholders than many other countries in the world because we live in often intergenerational families and larger communities. And so just being around, I've always said that, when you're, even on days that you've chosen to work from home, the assumption everybody makes in the house with a woman is that she's available for every question anyone has in the house, for anything that needs to be done. And that's not always the case with men because, you're able to kind of close the door. And I see that difference in my home as well. And I think that has truly been sort of one of the most challenging areas because I think for everyone it's been challenging to figure out how to manage the two. I mean, think about the fact that we're all welcoming each other into our homes and our living rooms and our studies and sometimes in the extra bedroom for all of our business conversations. So I think that's a large part of the challenge really, which is how do you manage what was already difficult before?
Can we request Mr. Puri to hand over the trophy virtually to you?
This is your trophy, so I'm virtually handing it to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And congratulations.
Our next winner is Ms. Jayshree Vyas, Managing Director, Shree Mahila Seva Sahakari Bank. Many congratulations, Ms. Vyas. Ms. Vyas too caught up with Mr. Chengappa, Mr. Puri, Ms. Kali Puri and Mr. Rajiv Dubey. Please take a look.
So who are your main clients who you loan money to? What kind of work do they do?
Yeah, basically all informal sector women workers, mainly vendors, means vegetable vendors, small other types of vendors, even small shopkeepers and those kind of women. Second is home-based workers,
That could be garment makers, could be other artisans and food processing people. I mean, women who are doing food processing business, who are artisans, or doing any other kind of home-based workers, BD workers, incense stick workers. The third category is service providers like paper pickers, carriers, or construction workers, and in the rural area, agriculture workers. So basically, all of them are working in the informal sector, and about all those things that they had. The basic thing was that they had because they're all economically active and working very hard, and so they needed capital, and they didn't have enough capital, so they had to borrow at very high rate of interest, and getting into the whole vicious cycle of poverty. And that was the reason why women themselves, because it was basically a union of informal sector workers. So all those members themselves, they started working with the banks. Of course, now it is different for financial inclusion, but it was the time when bankers were also not very ready, or it was not comfortable for them to lend to these women. So they were facing some practical problems. So those women themselves decided that let us start our own bank.
How much has the pandemic impacted all this? How serious is the problem?
Well, to be very frank with you, yes, particularly all urban women who are dealing with us, who are our members, were affected, because they were in slums, or in some places where that definitely wasn't a problem. In rural area, there was little less problem, because they were in agriculture area. But the thing which has happened is that because for over a period of time, it was not only credit which we were giving, we were also helping them to give saving, and we also helped them to save more money. So this time what was happening was that first thing, and the second thing, that digital thing also came in. So they had RuPay cards, so they could at least withdraw from ATM, and so that was the first thing, from their own savings. The second thing which was there, that many of them had even saved in fixed deposits. So they also withdrew as a credit from fixed deposit OD. So that was also thing. The third thing which was that, of course, somebody definitely wanted credit. Then we did give them, because it was a bank and all branches were open, so they were able to come in. Of course, our field workers were not going, but they were able to come in bank. So, and we were also using all those kinds of, whatever, like social distancing and all those things, we were also using it. So women were also very disciplined. So some cases some of them had taken loan against gold ornaments also. But for some, we gave unsecured loans also.
Mr. Puri, would you like to hand over the trophy, the virtual trophy to...
Handing it to you.
Congratulations.
I'm very happy. Thank you so much, sir. This is
Congratulations.
No, thank you for
congratulations.
Nice to see you. Very nice to see you. You're doing great work. Thank you.
Our next winner is Miss Karuna Nandi, Advocate, Supreme Court of India. Miss Nandi, of course, is an icon for many of us. Many congratulations.
So why don't you talk to us a little bit about media freedom, from what you are seeing happening around us?
With regard to those media freedoms, I think that polarization has emerged in significant part because of the news now emerges to a significant part from social networks.
Right.
Right? And so if one particular thing is trending, or if one set of people is particularly good at leveraging those social networks, then that is something that can happen. The second thing is that I think because of the making of people's brains, slicing up people's brains into bite-sized chunks, BYTE, right? Mm-hmm. And lower attention spans, and the kind of lowest common denominator, which seems to imply that X's view is just as good as an expert on the field or a reputed media organization, right? Or some random blog. And because the eyeballs are turning away, I think what's happening is that like less and less money is now available to traditional media organizations to fund proper journalism.
So here is me virtually giving you your award.
Here's me virtually receiving it.
Our next winner is Ms. Lakshmi Venu, Joint Managing Director and Whole-Time Director at Sundaram Clayton.
Thank you very much to all of you at Business Today for this recognition and this honor. This has truly been an unprecedented year in all our lives. As a business, it has made us push the boundaries on every front. Once again, thank you very much to all of you at Business Today.
Our next winner is Ms. Meena Ganesh, CEO and Managing Director of Portia Medical. Ms. Ganesh and the top leadership of the India Today Group exchanged some thoughts and ideas. Let's quickly take a look at that conversation.
Ma'am, how has your Corona experience been? Because I think you've been on the front lines of it.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about how it's been? We've been hearing very conflicting reports. It's a common flu. Everyone's overreacting to know we're not reacting enough and fast enough. So it'd be nice to hear from you what you think.
Well, you're absolutely right. We've done a lot of work around COVID management with the with multiple state governments, 6 state governments that we have worked with.
Yeah.
We also are working directly with a lot of patients who come to us for support, who are not coming through the government. So there is no doubt that more than 85% of people who are infected by corona actually have no symptoms or very, very mild symptoms. So it is like you rightly said, it's just a flu, right? Why are we making such a big deal about it? That is true. And the point is the important issue is to be able to separate them out. Who are the ones who need real medical attention? Who are the ones who can be isolated at home, monitored and treated right there? So that's one thing that we have done a lot of in working with all the state governments. Nearly 100,000 patients, COVID positive patients, we have home monitored and released from isolation because they were completely recovered. Hardly 2.5% needed to be hospitalized. So that removed a lot of the burden on the hospital system. That said, the balance 2 to 3% who had to be hospitalized, and I'm only talking about the ones that came from the home isolation program. Some of them did become serious. We've had absolutely limited number of deaths from those that were in home isolation. But those which went directly into the hospital, yes, of course, there is a degree of mortality which is significant.
So you were obviously working right through the crisis, right? In fact, working double, if anything, because you would have to change your protocols, etc., given the new the infection rates of this, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So because we are working with patients on the ground and our staff and our nurses and our physiotherapists and doctors are visiting patients even during these times and also working with COVID positive patients, there's a lot of change in our protocols, the kind of protective equipment that you provide, what screening do you do of both my staff as well as the patients before we can put them together. Yeah. There's a lot of new learnings that we've gone through. But Kali, there's also an interesting takeaway that for me is that this has given rise to the understanding that home care or outside of hospital care is a very, very critical part of the overall healthcare ecosystem.
What do you think of the startup scene in India? Meaning you've had so many startups. Is the government of any help or you just have to do it on your own?
Well, I have been doing startups now for the last 20 years. In the first phase in 2000, it was like, just leave me alone, I just want to do my thing. And a good thing was at that time, Karnataka government was actually quite good in saying that you do your own, we will not intervene or trouble you. But from there, things have moved on a lot. Both the ecosystem has changed, whether it is investors or lawyers or angels or different kinds of support system. And also the government keeps looking at things which might, for instance, the angel tax is a big issue and a lot of fight happened and they did go back and change that. So they are constantly trying to make changes in that. And I think especially where we are today, the only way this country can come out of this whatever depression or economic situation that we have is that more and more people turn entrepreneurs because the big guys adding on a lot of jobs going to take a while. So this is the only way we have to do it, and I think all of us have to join hands.
Mr. Puri, would you like to hand over the trophy, the virtual trophy to Ms. Ganesh.
Yeah, this is the trophy. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You've done great work and keep up all what you're doing. Fantastic entrepreneurial spirit.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I
Thanks for
really
your time.
appreciate the honor that I've been given. Thank you.
Our next winner is Miss Monica Shergill, Vice President Content, Netflix India. Ms. Shergill caught up with the top leadership of the India Today group. Let's take a look at that conversation.
I was, Monica, reading Hastings' new book, No Rules, Rules.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So those apply to you. You have no leave. You can take it when you want. Is that correct?
Actually, everything in the book and everything that Reed says about the book are absolutely true. There are genuinely no rules at Netflix, and we operate with the core rule, which is freedom and responsibility, the core value, I should say. So Netflix Culture Memo is a set of values where there's a lot of sort of emphasis on the individual, you know, and how you sort of imbibe those values in the way you work, the way you interact, the way you do business within and without. So it's a very interesting, culture document.
No hierarchy? Is it meaning? Is there a kind of a hierarchy there, or you just everybody works on their own and delivers whatever they have to do?
You know, the fascinating thing is that it's both. There is no typical hierarchy at all, because for every level of decision making, and this is something which is encouraged for all of us, there are informed captains. So at every level, we operate with a lot of freedom to make decisions, and yet there are leaders, who are there to sort of steer, guide, and to stay aligned.
So Monica, I want to ask you something which necessarily, we are not privy to, and if you can share it, it would be fantastic, is what have you learned about the Indian consumer through the pandemic? Because everyone has just been stuck to Netflix, right? It's me, my home, and Netflix. So what have you learned about the Indian consumer in the last 5 or 6 months?
I think in the last 5 or 6 months, the most important thing that has stood out for us at Netflix is that people just have a basic need to connect, through stories, because the number of people who came onto the service during that period was actually, a learning for us also, and what they were looking at, what kind of stories they were watching suddenly, that they were ready to experiment, and just the need to be able to escape from what was happening around. So I think stories in that sense, like I don't know who said it the other day, that Netflix has become a part of essential services now.
Before we close, Mr. Puri, if you could please hand over the virtual trophy to Monica. Thank you so much.
Really, really happy to have this.
Our next woman leader in the category of India's most powerful women in business and economy is Ms. Nandini Piramal, Executive Director of Piramal Enterprises. Many congratulations, Ms. Piramal. Ms. Piramal also caught up with the top leaders of the India Today group. Let's take a look at that conversation.
Nandini, what do you think of the coronavirus? You're sort of from an insider, and you're suffering it as well. You see it from different countries. How do you see it? Is it just a common flu, or is it something that we are taking either too seriously or not seriously enough?
I think it's serious. I've unfortunately known many of our employees who are young, who've actually, lost their lives. Like I know 30-year-olds who've lost their lives.
Yes.
Due to coronavirus. So most people in the flu don't lose their lives, right? So I think, and I've had to write more condolence notes for, my friends and employees than I've had to do ever before, right? So I think it's a serious thing. It's not something to be taken lightly.
What do you think about the vaccine, Nandini? There's so much talk about it, right? Today, we've heard that Dr. Reddy is tied up with the Sputnik vaccine and they're going to maybe manufacture it here and do trial of phase 3. Like, what do you think of all? And Trump, of course, has gone and said completely the opposite things about the vaccine last night. So what do you think about the vaccine and when it'll be ready?
So I think there will be vaccines. I think they will happen at the end of the year. But I think rollout to cover all populations will take at least 2 or 3 years, right? There's a large number of people in the world and a large number of people will need the vaccine. Just the logistics of getting things across is not that easy.
How do you see the state of the Indian economy right now? Are you very optimistic or pessimistic?
I'm not terribly optimistic. I think certain sectors will do well. So, for example, our OTC and consumer goods is doing fine because those are things that we need to happen. I would say that obviously the other sectors are more in trouble. I do think there needs to be a stimulus from the government, but it depends. I mean, I think obviously the fiscal position also has to be balanced.
Hey, this is the trophy. I'm going to be handing it to you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
And I'm very honored.
Our next winner is Ms. Neerja Birla, founder and chairperson of Empower. Ms. Birla, making the world a better place with one difficult conversation at a time.
I'm really happy to be here at this virtual conclave. A big thank you to the India Today group and the team at Business Today for including me among this inspiring cohort of business leaders. It is an honor to be considered among the most powerful women in Indian business, but more importantly, it is a great acknowledgement and encouragement of the tremendous efforts and the work that the teams are carrying on with so much dedication and passion. I started out with the simple goal of creating an educational environment that would truly nurture and blossom young minds. Along the way, it evolved into a much larger mission of reaching out to people and positively impacting their lives. We've been working towards bringing about a Copernican shift in the way we perceive mental health, in the way we approach the professional development of educators, and the way we approach education in a much more holistic manner. And this has been only possible with the support and backing of a great team. I do believe that behind every successful woman, there is a cohort of people who share the same passion and dreams and the will to make a change. A big thank you to all my teams who relentlessly work at making dreams into realities. There are entire communities of people who've put their faith in us and joined our mission. Thank you all for the trust reposed in us.
Our next winner is Ms. Neeta Ambani, founder and chairperson of Reliance Foundation. Our next winner is Ms. Nivruti Rai, Country Head, Intel India, Vice President, Data Center Group, Intel Corporation. Ms. Rai caught up with the leaders of the India Today group. Let's take a look at that conversation.
Tell me, how important is India for Intel? Meaning your whole setup here. Is that the main research center or because it's, I mean, not only for domestic market, I presume it's for all international operations, right?
Absolutely. So just to tell you that after United States, the largest design house is India. So from R&D perspective, we are really very, very important. But if you look at, the business perspective, it's very small. India contributes very, very small as compared to, the total revenues that we generate. But my whole goal is to basically power the growth of India. And if India grows, then obviously Intel and many other companies will grow.
Why is it that India cannot make the chip? What's the real problem?
India cannot make the chip. Absolutely, India can make the chip.
No, but why hasn't it done in 74 years? That's one of the things that we have not done.
I'll tell you why. For a chip manufacturing, and when you say chip manufacturing, I'm understanding that you're saying fabrication. You're not saying slapping a laptop together or slapping a server together.
That's right, exactly.
Yeah. So why has it not happened? That kind of production needs continuous supply of water, electricity, and manpower. Manpower, I totally believe we can get. But till now, we were struggling to meet the needs of all of these things. And I will tell you, 10 years ago, Intel did try to come in India. And unfortunately, at that point of the time, the government could not offer us all the things, including some issues with labor laws.
Yeah.
So it's not that we can't do it, but so far we have not been able to do it. But looking forward, I'm pushing for manufacturing in India.
To request our chairman to hand over the virtual trophy to you as well.
Virtually.
Thank you very much.
Our next winner is Ms. Priya Nair, Executive Director, Beauty and Personal Care, Hindustan Unilever Limited. Ms. Nair caught up with Mr. Arun Puri, Ms. Kali Puri, Mr. Raj Chengappa and Mr. Rajiv Dubey a little earlier. Let's take a look at that interaction.
Priya, what is the product which you think that you really kind of reinvented or launched, meaning made a real turnaround on?
So actually, Mr. Puri, I'll talk about what we are doing just now, because that's possibly the most important thing that we're doing, and that's we own the most accessible way to prevent coronavirus in the country, and that's the Humble soap.
Right.
And we are the biggest soap manufacturer of the country. And at this moment of time, possibly the most value we can add in the world is making our soaps accessible, available, starting with Lifebuoy, which is the first soap for many of our country people. And I think, at this moment, possibly the most important thing that we can all do to prevent the challenge we're in is making our products available. So whether it's a soap, or we've launched, of course, our sanitizers, hand wash liquids, and just distributing it, making it available, and telling consumers this is till the vaccine comes out. This is the way you can protect yourself is possibly, for me, the most important thing that, at this moment is relevant in the world.
So Priya, has it been a very busy and challenging time for you? Because
it certainly has. I think we're all adjusting to work from home, work over calls, a lot of change, volatility, disruption, and also keeping calm, in even personal strife, which many of our team members might have, helping them.
May I now request Mr. Puri to hand over the virtual trophy.
Thank you, Mr. Puri.
Thank
you so much.
Our next winner in the same category, India's most powerful women in business and economy, is Rekha Menon, Chairperson and Senior Managing Director, Accenture in India.
Thank you, Business Today, for this recognition. I'm honored to be on this prestigious list of the most powerful women in business in India. I want to dedicate this recognition to the 200,000 people at Accenture in India who've demonstrated great resilience and commitment in a very unprecedented year, and who inspire me to challenge myself every day. Thank you.
Our next winner is Ms. Richa Arora, President, Packaged Foods, Tata Consumer Products. Many congratulations, Ms. Arora.
I am honored to be a part of this list. This award is a moment of recognition, not just for me, but also for my mentors, without whose guidance and counsel I would have not come thus far. As with most business successes, I cannot lay sole claim to this honor. Behind this is the contribution of all the team members who have been a part of my journey over the years. My deep gratitude to Business Today and the eminent panel of jurists who have conferred this honor on me. Thank you very much.
Our next winner is Ms. Roshni Nadir Malhotra, CEO and Executive Director, HCL Corporation. Our next winner is Ms. Samina Hamid, Executive Vice-Chairperson, CIPLA. Ms. Hamid caught up with the senior leadership of the India Today Group. Let's take a look at that interaction.
How are you looking at the coronavirus? Have we as a country overreacted, underreacted?
So I think, the starting point was that we reacted well. We went into this lockdown and we thought that, we would cover the worst by all sitting at home. But, no one understood the virus or the pattern of this virus. And this virus is behaving, in a very different manner to what people imagine. First, they said, it affected a certain cohort of people in a certain age group. That theory is busted. It only went to cold countries. So every theory was basically didn't pan out the way it is. I just think in a country like India, we cannot avoid running away from a pandemic hitting a country that has such mass density of population. There is no way out. You cannot have social distancing in most parts of India. And also healthcare, beyond metros and tier 2, tier 3 is very, very rudimentary. India really needs to work on their primary healthcare network. And yes, with Ayushman Bharat, a lot is happening on the ground, but we've got a long way to go. And the pandemic hit us right before we even transcended that journey. So I think it is challenging. I think it's challenging for the economy and the industry, for the livelihoods. And it's truly, a whole dichotomy between lives and livelihoods.
I would request Mr. Puri to hand over the trophy virtually to you.
This is your virtual trophy. I'm handing it over to you.
Thank you for the opportunity and, thank you for the recognition. I tell, when teams at CIPLA reached out to congratulate me, I said that this is actually a trophy for CIPLA because it is and will always be a team effort at CIPLA. And I'm just representing the organization. So thank you, Mr. Puri. I accept your award and thank you, India Today, for the recognition. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Samina, and all the best.
Congratulations.
Our next winner is Ms. Sangeeta Pendurkar, Chief Executive Officer, Pantaloons Fashion, Aditya Birla Fashion and Retail. Many congratulations, Ms. Pendurkar.
It is indeed an honor to receive the Business Today India's Most Powerful Women Award. I accept this award on behalf of the 8,000 plus member team at the two organizations that I have the privilege of leading, Pantaloons and Jaipur. A big thank you to the teams for their dedication, perseverance, and for continuing to be driven by the purpose of making the men and women of India look and feel good each time they visit our store or buy our product online. I also want to thank my family, my dad, who at the age of 95 continues to be my biggest supporter, and to the rest of my family for keeping me grounded. The values of hard work, perseverance, and integrity is what I imbibed and learned as part of my growing up. I also thank several mentors and coaches who shaped my career and chiseled my leadership over the last 3 decades. Thank you, Business Today. I accept this award with immense pride and humility on behalf of the entire team at Pantaloons in Jaipur and on behalf of the millions of consumers who repose their faith every single day in our brands. Thank you.
Moving on to our next winner, again in the same category, India's Most Powerful Women in Business and Economy is Ms. Shanti Ekambaram, President Consumer Banking, Kotak Mahindra Bank. Ms. Ekambaram caught up with Mr. Puri, Mr. Chengappa, Ms. Kali Puri and Mr. Rajiv Dubey. Let's take a look at that interaction.
How do you see the banking, let's say consumer sector? I mean, people are expecting huge NPAs down the road. What do you see the future there in terms of consumer banking?
I think you have to break it up into parts. The MSME and the small businesses which form a part of the consumer bank, thanks to the government's MSME scheme, has seen about close to 1.3 lakh crores of liquidity into the system. And actually, if you see in August and September, you've seen a lot of businesses come back. In fact, anywhere between 50 to 110%, particularly the 100 and 110% are those in the export sectors, interestingly, is looking interesting. Only the sectors like, aviation, anyway, there are no MSMEs and retail customers, but, restaurants, hotels, those which are directly consumption impacted because of COVID due to physical mobility have gotten impacted. The retail sector actually has taken a lot to online. I mean, if you take a customer like Vijay says, he moved a large part of his thing to online. So I think you have to break it up into two parts. The individual customer, if you look at it, and you may have read last month's number, the unemployment number has actually come down post-August because companies have restarted re-employment. So I think two things. One, those who lost their jobs, those companies who probably died because of COVID, those who reduced their salary, they will face some stress. But if you've chosen your customer right, I think you have, Reserve Bank of India has come out with a restructuring scheme. Different banks are following different policies. The good customers actually will survive. And we have seen that in the month of September, customers come back and actually pay after the moratorium period. So I think it's a mixed bag, Mr. Puri. I think what is important is how long will this take? It's like somebody asking me a question, when will the vaccine come? I honestly don't know. So I honestly don't know when this will end. So let's say by Jan, everything comes back to normal. I think Indian businesses will bounce back. They have built up reserves over a period of time. People have built up savings. But if this goes on for more than 2 years, then I think it's directly linked to the economy. If the economy doesn't grow, if it gets into stress, there will be stress. But right now, it's looking better than...
Moratorium, has that helped or in any way on bank loans, of repaying bank loans?
I think moratorium helped people push back. Like if you see Kotak, in the phase 2 of moratorium, we just had 9.5% of our total loans under moratorium at the bank level. Yeah, so it's not a very large number. While you had many banks who had 40, 50, NBFCs, etc. percentage. No, that's a relatively smaller number. It just, customers actually had money, but they said we want to conserve just in case we have medical expense, we have that expense. And they've come back in September and paid. So I think it helped people understand what COVID was, get over the fear of COVID, adjust their lives, look at their jobs, and that gave them the breathing space. So I guess it served its purpose.
But there's no forbearance on interest. Even during moratorium, they will pay the interest, right?
They have to pay. It is like banking. I have depositors. Can I say during moratorium, I won't pay my depositors interest, right? So how can you then ask this question that do loans have to get interest? Because if I have to pay depositors interest, I have to charge customers interest. That is the banking business.
May I now request Mr. Puri to hand over the virtual trophy?
So this is giving it to you. And you getting it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Puri. I really appreciate it. It's an honor, and thank you for the honor.
Our next winner in this category is Ms. Smita Jatia, Managing Director, Hardcastle Restaurants. Many congratulations, Ms. Jatia.
At the outset, I would really like to take this opportunity to thank the India Today Group and the jury for giving me this incredible honor and recognition. I am so glad to share this platform today with so many inspirational women. May we continue to grow, empower each other, and set new benchmarks.
Moving on to our next winner. It is Ms. Sonali Kulkarni, President and Chief Executive Officer of FANUC India. Ms. Kulkarni caught up with Ms. Kalipuri, Mr. Raj Chengappa, Mr. Arun Puri and Mr. Rajiv Dubey a little earlier. Let's take a look at that conversation.
So are your robots customized or are they kind of a standard product in certain segments?
No, see, we are the world's largest manufacturer of robots.
Right.
Okay. And we also make the most reliable robots because every piece of the robot is designed and manufactured under the same roof in Japan. So definitely there is standardization. We cannot have customization and be world number one. But it depends. End of arm tooling is always customized based on what a robot is 6 axis. It's like an arm, but finally you need the fingers either to arc weld. You put a wire and you burn it and you get an arc weld. You put a spot gun, so it will make spots between 2 sheet metals. If you put a little paint line, you can spray paint. If you put grippers, you can pick and place. So that definitely has to be customized. The whole system integration is very customized. Yes.
How, I mean, this is a little bit of like a television Hollywood type of question because of what we understand as robots, right? How far are we from seeing human robots like the kind we see in soap operas, you know, with the skin and everything, and you can't tell the difference?
Yeah. That's a very good question, Kali. Farooq is a narrow path company. So for the last 60 years, we just do one thing, which is factory automation. And so we rule that space and we are unknown outside that space. So we are in industrial robots. But definitely we have the technology. It is not far at all. It's just not prachalit. It is not widely available because the market is not so attractive.
No, I understand that. I was asking you as somebody who's really deep in that space and so would know. How do you actually see it though? Do you see it as something which is something to be worried about, or is it something to be excited about? You know, these human type of robots coming into our life to help us, to be companions and all of these things.
Yes. I think progress, as we call it, is unstoppable. Our response is what matters. So I see it, not excitement, but with positivity. And not, why should you worry? And yeah, I think it's positive. And it is true, whether we like it or not. It is true that families are getting smaller, people are getting more distant, we're living longer, care is become, so it's going to happen.
Yeah.
We have to retain our humanity.
I'll request Mr. Puri to hand over the trophy virtually to you.
This is your virtual trophy. I'm handing it over to you.
Lovely.
Congratulations and all the best for your dad.
Thank you. It's nice of you, sir. Thank you.
Moving on to our next winner, Ms. Sunita Reddy, Managing Director, Apollo Hospitals Enterprise. Many congratulations, Ms. Reddy. Ms. Reddy also caught up with the top editorial leadership of the India Today group. Let's take a look.
What is your take on the coronavirus? Meaning, how long do you think it's going to last? Is the government policies correct in the way they're handling it? Or are we like either overreacting or underreacting?
Oh, no, we're definitely not overreacting. Neither are we underreacting. I think the government, what they did with the lockdown was, they gave us time. They give the healthcare sector time to get ready for it and get a deeper understanding. Because you must remember when the lockdown was announced in March, WHO had no treatment protocols for COVID. I mean, only the testing protocol was given. And even with the testing protocol, they said this has a 60% accuracy rate. So I think the government did its best to contain, but it needed to open the lockdown because one, people who were sick really needed to come into hospitals. But more importantly, the economic impact of the lockdown was unsustainable. So I think opening up the lockdown and looking for building immunity, the herd immunity was a very important next step in their strategy. And the third, of course, will be, we know that COVID is here for a year. And the way that we're looking at it reoccurring in Western countries, I think to imagine that it will go away in 2 to 3 months is something very difficult, is not going to happen, let me put it that way. So on a very practical level, we have to be prepared till March.
Mr. Puri, if I may request you to hand over the virtual trophy to Ms. Reddy.
Trophy.
Yes, thank you so much.
I'm handing it to you virtually in these corona times.
Thank you. And I'm coughing not because of corona. I'm overwhelmed. Thank you very much.
Our next winner is Ms. Vibha Padlakar, Managing Director and CEO, HDFC Life. Many congratulations, Ms. Padlakar.
Would you say that the corona pandemic and the kind of fears which exist are going to happen now for some time, is it good for life insurance business?
I think not good, perhaps the word I would use, but I think I would say that it reinforces what people should have understood long back, that it is as essential as spending on one's home, certainly before one takes a holiday and so on. So it's that inflection point for life insurance business.
So it is good for you.
It is good for business. It is because penetration levels are woefully small. And we have next to no social security unless you're a government servant. So against that backdrop, yes, I would say that the growth is a lot more visible today because people who are younger, people who are in their 35 and sub 40 will remember this for a lifetime. And this India shining, and you get your education and you do exceedingly well, and there's, world's your oyster, that I think has it just recalibrated, and it will last for quite a few decades. And that's when they start realizing that for a 1 crore cover, it costs 7,000-8,000. What are we even cribbing about annually? That's what you spend in a multiplex and one weekend outing. So that realization, something had to happen, and this is that moment.
Vibha, how did you change or retrain your team to work in these very tough times? So the product that you're offering is very much required in these times, but obviously the way we work had to change very drastically.
Yeah. Couple of things. First thing is that right at the beginning, even before lockdown happened, we kind of sensed this was coming, and we said, okay, let's all work from home. At least, the leaders work from office, but we said the masses will take care of you. That went down very well because we preempted that, and people realized that we are looking out for them rather than really stretching it. They really appreciated that we closed all our 421 branches, despite some competition keeping it open and despite us being as essential services. Also, we could do that because we were fairly advanced in digital. Third thing is that we gave a salary advance on the 21st of March, and that went down very well instead of waiting till end of the month, because we thought people need to stock up on provisions and so on, because we have 20,000 employees and some of them earn as little as 2.5 lakh per annum. So that went down very well. Fourth is that we had, again, right at that time, counseling. So people could call in free of charge and for counseling, both of any kind, for them and their families. And the fact that, we have maxed out in terms of numbers that we thought people will call out, and 49% of that are male. So I was very happy to see that number. So although I don't know what they speak, but I do know the gender, and it is great. So people felt that there was a support system, and people felt that company was looking after. So I got them and got their attention in a way to say, we are a family. After that, they were willing to do pretty much anything to really stretch to make this happen. And the initial period in April was pretty taxing because we didn't have bandwidth. We had people living we still do, very small houses, spouse working, kids from home, not having the privacy, especially in places like Mumbai. So working through all of that and figuring out, we just had employees who were with us. And so we step by step broke down every bastion of why we can't do whatever we are supposed to do from home, and communicate and more further communication. I was always out there, and along with my senior management team, of talking to people, sharing with them, and not saying we have all the answers, but talk to us, keep the lines, whatever is worrying, talk to us. So but the initial not having an ROI, not having a business case, not looking at the bottom line, but genuinely looking for, are my employees safe, has really, I think, done wonders.
Ms. Puri, may I request you to hand over the trophy, the virtual trophy, to Vibha? I think she already also has her own trophy as well. Have you received our trophy? Yeah.
I certainly have.
Congratulations.
Yes. The lovely.
You got it.
Absolutely, for the 4th time. Thank you so much.
Satyabhama Institute of Science and Technology, Chennai.
What are you looking at, Dad?
4WD.
4 weird doodles?
No! 4-wheel
drive.
MG Gloucester. Bookings now open.
डिश वॉशर है ना?
जितनी स्क्रबिंग उतनी सफाई।
इसमें आपके बेटे ने दाल मखनी जलाई थी, फिर भी चकाचक।
बॉश, इंडियन किचन का डिशवॉशर।
Moving on to our next category, India's most powerful women abroad. And the winner is Ms. Anshula Kant, Managing Director and Chief Financial Officer, World Bank Group. In the same category, India's most powerful women abroad, our next winner is Ms. Aparna Bawa, COO and Interim Chief Legal Officer, Zoom Video Communications.
Hello, everyone. I'm Aparna Bawa. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Zoom, and it is an absolute pleasure and honor to be recognized as one of the most powerful women in business, as hosted by Business Today. Our entire team at Zoom thanks Business Today for recognizing our efforts and giving us an incredible opportunity to stand alongside other leaders in the industry. This initiative by Business Today recognizes women leaders and in turn is meant to empower women coming up the ranks to aim for leadership. This award is also a testament to our efforts at Zoom to connect the globe in an unprecedented way over the last few months. The support that we have gotten from the industry is incredible, and we thank you for that. It has been a complete privilege and an obligation to serve the world and connect them at a time when people need it most.
Our next winner is Ms. Gargi Ghosh, President, Global Policy and Advocacy, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Thank you to Business Today for this incredible honor. It's a privilege to be recognized alongside so many women who are so accomplished and indeed powerful. It's always been part of my definition of power to be strong enough to help others, and a privilege to do that work on behalf of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Thank you to Business Today for recognizing that, and congratulations to my fellow honorees.
Our next winner in the same category is Ms. Divya Suryadevara, Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer, General Motors. Our next winner in the India's Most Powerful Women Abroad category is Ms. Geetu Verma, Global Vice President, Nutrition and Natural Platforms, Unilever.
Tell us a little bit about your work in Rotterdam. Meaning it's a very interesting title, Nutrition and Natural Platforms.
So my work essentially involves scouting and scoping for new spaces where we can make an entry either organically or inorganically with the intent to help people with solutions for healthier, happier lives, which are nature inspired. So the entire idea is to tap on areas of ancient wisdom. So for example, Ayurveda from India, to tap on plant-based wisdom. There is a huge macro force across the developed world where people are switching to plant-based meat. They're also moving to more diverse forms of eating. So, you know, a lot more of quinoa, for example, being consumed, a lot more of brown rice, and therefore bringing diversity into the palate and innovating foods in that space, as well as looking at new business models which can cater for more personalized needs. Because each of our bodies are different, constituted differently. What may work for you may not work for me. And in fact, the Ayurveda science is at the heart of the whole dosha wisdom.
Right.
In terms of being able to really figure out what your dosha is and be able to then, you know, help you with the right kind of diet and lifestyle interventions. So those are then business models which are different from what we've done before. They require a fair amount of digitization. So that's essentially the work that I have been involved in my global role.
What would you recommend in this time of corona from natural herbs, etc., for immunity? There's been a lot of talk about giloy in India, at least, as a cure for corona. Do you buy that?
Well, it wouldn't be right for me to prescribe. I am not a medical practitioner by any standard, but I can tell you what I do.
Yes.
I have a kada every night, and I have it as a shot actually. So we make, small shots for each member of the family. So what do I use in it? I use muleti. I use black pepper.
Yeah.
I use cinnamon. Tulsi leaves. What else? I think these are the 4 ingredients. And ginger, fresh ginger. Yes, very important. Boil it till 3 parts gets reduced to 1, and then have a little shot of it. It just tastes awesome. It tastes like mulled wine, if not better. And it's like a little nightcap actually. You feel have a little bit of a chocolate and then my nightcap. So I don't know how much it helps, but I think it does actually.
I would request Mr. Puri to hand over the trophy virtually to you.
This is the trophy.
Thank you very much.
Virtually, and congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thanks again for the honor, and pleasure to speak to all of you.
Our next winner, India's most powerful women abroad, is Ms. Geeta Gopinath, Economic Counselor and Director of Research Department of the International Monetary Fund. Moving on to our next winner in the same category is Ms. Kirtika Reddy, Partner, SoftBank Investment Advisors.
It's an honor to accept Business Today's Most Powerful Women Award. To me, it's a recognition of the power of dreaming big, working hard to make your dreams come true, and the power of surrounding yourself with people who believe in you almost more than you believe in yourself. It was an honor for me to accept this award when I was in India in my role as Managing Director, Facebook India and South Asia, which I started as employee number 1. I think you can see the awards behind me, and it's an honor for me today to accept this role as in my current role as investment partner, SoftBank Investment Advisors, one of the largest tech funds in the world with over 100 billion under management.
Our next winner in the same category is Ms. Madhulika Guathakurta, Lead Program Scientist, NASA, Living with a Star.
How long have you been working with NASA?
27 years.
Wow.
So I was doing research at Goddard Space Flight Center. That is our biggest science center. NASA has 10 centers. And then I was pulled to NASA headquarters in '98 at a relatively young age. I wasn't quite ready to give up my science, but they just pulled me, said, oh, just for, a couple of years, please come help us, launching the stereo mission. And I said, sure, I'll do that. But while I was there, this concept of Living with a Star program came up. And to me, it felt like, instead of doing my personal research, I'm not going to be a Nobel laureate. I mean, nobody ever knows anything. But I could influence, the growth almost of a new field. It just felt so creative that I could use my energy. And I made a very bold decision and gave up my job and became gave up my research career and became 100% NASA manager. And I don't think I regret that at all. And I've been at headquarters for 22 years, which is called one real magnetic solar cycle. So even though the solar cycle I described to you is 11 years, the magnetic field flips. Earth has magnetic field north and south pole, right? Imagine that flipping. Every 11 years, sun's magnetic field flips. So to really think about solar cycle, it's actually 22 years.
Madhulika, this is your trophy. I'm handing it to you.
That's beautiful.
Maybe someday we'll get it to you in Washington. And congratulations for all the wonderful work you're doing.
Thank you so much. And really, I appreciate the honor.
Our next winner in the same category is Ms. Revati Advaiti, Chief Executive Officer, Flex.
Namaste. Let me start by saying that I'm deeply honored to be recognized as one of Business Today's 2020 Most Powerful Women. But most importantly, I want to congratulate all the winners from this year and previous years who have been recognized with this award. The path that all of you have taken and continue to take is inspiring to me and many Indian women around the world. Thank you so much for this honor, and namaste.
Our next winner in the same category is Ms. Soumya Swaminathan, Chief Scientist, World Health Organization. Moving on to our rising stars. And the winner is Ms. Aarthi Gill, co-founder of Oziva.
First of all, I'm really honored and humbled that Business Today is recognizing our efforts at Oziva. While I believe it's just not me, it's the entire team at Oziva who deserves this award because they are the real rising stars. Thank you so much once again, and we hope to keep doing the hard work to empower millions of people across the world to be healthier and better.
Our next winner on the list is Divya Gokulnath, co-founder of Byju's Think and Learn. Ms. Gokulnath also interacted with the top leadership of the India Today group. Let's take a listen.
You've also been in the right place at the right time. I mean, with the current pandemic, everyone is into online education. Everyone's gone back into their homes, So what has the experience been like for you and Byju's?
I think, this is actually an inflection point for EdTech. I think what did not happen in decades has actually happened in months and weeks, right? And I think being in EdTech, we're very fortunate to be in a segment of positive relevance, especially in times like these, where, some time back when there was a lockdown, UNESCO predicted about, I think, 1.3 billion kids were out of school. So, considering all of that, that's when we made our app actually completely free. And if you actually see the impact, we had 40 million kids come onto our platform in the first 4 years. And just in the last 4 months, we saw 20 million new children come on the platform. Yes, in terms of awareness, in terms of usage, in terms of engagement, you've seen them spend, and I think that's what, right? So they're spending almost 100 minutes per session and coming back almost every single day, showing that this is almost becoming the new normal of learning, digital learning, online learning. Even schools have moved online, teachers have moved online. So I think it's a great time for EdTech.
So what are the challenges of growing so fast in such a short period? Are you feeling some pressure on that, or you're able to cope with it? You had enough capacity? Because of, as you said, the growth is phenomenal.
So I think generally for EdTech companies, the risk is that if you suddenly go online overnight, if you don't have great content, you risk taking mediocre content, just overnight taking that digitally, turning that around and trying to take it to a larger audience. So that is the only risk which is there. But see, I think what has worked for us is that at core, we are a pure education, we are a pure content company. We've always used technology as an enabler to extend the reach of our programs. So I think for us, in terms of bandwidth or anything, it hasn't been, see, that's the advantage of technology, right? You just need to create that great content once, and technology can take it places. We also did a lot of new releases on the app. We launched live classes. So the same teachers who took classes on the app, including myself, we launched a new format of learning, which is similar to the school kind of learning, where you have scheduled online classes at specific times, the regularity which the schools provide. That we did actually when the lockdown was announced, so that children don't miss out on the scheduled learning. And I think, being on the side of the student always helps, because today students are warming up to online learning because everybody is getting a front row seat. If you look at how it happens, we're all meeting together, but all of us are able to, like this meeting today, right? Everybody has a front row seat. So even in online classes, all children have a front row seat. And I think we were slowly realizing that. So if you ask me, challenges are few compared to the opportunities which lie for a good education company who wants to take their content online and make so many students benefit from it.
I would request Mr. Puri to hand over the trophy virtually to you.
Maybe in the future sometime in person, but so this is congratulations.
Thank you.
Moving on to our next rising star, Ms. Isha Ambani, Director, Reliance Jio and Reliance Retail. Our next winner in the category is Mansi Tata, Executive Director, Kirloskar Systems.
Mansi, you've done quite a few things. First, you were in the hospital, I think, weren't you?
Yes, I was working with my mother.
You've now shifted to, you were in Kirloskar Systems, and now you're in real estate, right? So how are you finding these different transitions?
The real estate project was a joint development project with Embassy. So it was a very good learning process for me. We weren't part of the construction, but we were working on the architectural designs and trying to figure out different price points and things like that. My focus is on the development and social sector. I have a non-profit. It's a trust by the name of Caring with Color. It's about 3 years old now. And we work with government primary schools in Karnataka, well, outside Bangalore. And my entire focus at the moment has been on scaling that effort up, and it's starting to do pretty well. So I've gained a lot more interest in the social sector, and I would, in the future, like to focus more and more on that.
Wow, that's great. But you're living in Mumbai right now.
I'm living in Bombay, and because I'd started this in Bangalore, it's still headquartered in Bangalore. So hopefully when I try to expand it and scale it up, I can bring it down to Maharashtra and to the rest of the country.
Oh. So who was it more fun to work with, Mansi, your dad or your mom?
I worked more closely with my mom. I haven't worked that closely with my dad yet. My mom is, because she had an advertising background, I used to go to, visit her at her office even when I was in school. And it was a very exciting, energized environment. So it was definitely a lot of fun working with her, and she gave me quite a free hand. I was working on the interiors of the hospital.
Yes, I remember.
And she gave me a very free hand. I had a budget that I had to work with, but working on the clinical and non-clinical interiors, she was very flexible with me. And she did call me out when I made a few mistakes, and just like she would with everyone else. So it was a great learning experience to have worked with her.
I would request Mr. Puri to hand over the trophy virtually to you.
Thank you.
Our next winner is Miss Masaba Gupta, founder of House of Masaba.
Thank you so much, Business Today, for this award. It's truly, truly humbling, and I'm very honored. I think that in these challenging and unprecedented times, it's lovely to get an honor like this for the work that I've been doing. Thank you so much. I hope to continue doing a lot more good work and getting a lot more acknowledgement from reputed magazines like yourself. Thank you.
Our next winner is Ms. Prajakta Kohli of Mostly Sane.
So how has it been being a YouTuber and an Instagrammer and all of those things? Because all of the young kids now, you ask them what they want to be when they grow up, and they used to say doctors and engineers, and now they say we want to be a YouTuber.
It feels great. I feel like overall, honestly, I wanted to be a radio jockey. I did not want to be a YouTuber. This was not a job that I knew even existed when I was writing my diary in school that, dear God, this is what I want to be when I up. It just happened, and I feel so blessed that it did, because it is extremely liberating, and at the same time it's a very creatively challenging space to be in, where not one day is like another. Every day is an adventure, every day is fun. My job lets me well, not now due to COVID, but otherwise travel so much, meet so many new people, try so many new things, and there's really no boundaries. So it feels amazing to be in a position where you feel like you can do anything.
So what do your parents think about your job? Were they surprised about what you're doing, or they wanted you to be something else?
No, so my parents have been almost annoyingly supportive. Like I felt like there would be some conflict sometime where my mom and dad would be like, no, but you don't know what you're doing. But they have always been so supportive. I was like, just for drama, thoda to kar lo yaar, thoda to mana kar do kuch karne ke liye. Ever since I was a child, they were very, very supportive. I remember there was a time when I used to just come up with new, like, today I want to be a physiotherapist. They were like, cool. I was like, today I want to be an interior designer. And they were like, great. Today I want to be a teacher. And every day I would just come up with new professions and they were totally fine till I landed on radio jockey. And then I stuck to radio jockey for years. And they were like, okay, great. Although, you know, I did have a little bit... I was a little bit scared when I had decided to quit my job as a radio jockey at a radio station intern to start YouTube. And I remember going to them thinking, you know, I mean, they've taken so much pride in the fact that, you know, I was someone who always knew what she wanted to do and I started doing that. And now I'm going to go and tell them that I want to do something that I have absolutely no clue about. And I remember telling them that, listen, this is what I want to do. And I know that this was not the plan. Give me a year. And if you can, then great. Otherwise, I'll try something else. And I'll never forget what they said. They were like, why do you want a year? Take 2 years. What's your hurry? And I was like, okay then, all right. So they have been very supportive. They always told me like, जो आंटियों को समझ में नहीं आता है ना, तू क्या करती है? उनको बोल दे तू Google में काम करती है. And I'm like, okay, ठीक है, fine. So it was always like that.
I just have a question. During this period, did you develop a COVID show of any sort? And what was the popularity like?
Not really, but I started this thing on my Instagram called, like I started doing a count of the days of quarantine, like day 1 of quarantine and day 2 of quarantine, and how like the madness just kept exaggerating throughout the days. I think I did it till about 150 days or 160 days of quarantine till finally work started opening up a little bit when I started. So I think that one picked up quite a lot. That was that day so-and-so of self-quarantine was a trend that picked up a lot on my Instagram.
Were you on TikTok?
I was, briefly.
So what did you think of the ban?
I mean, honestly, I wasn't I wasn't creating content only for TikTok. I had just started putting out videos, very little videos. But the fact that I was so YouTube-centric and Instagram-centric, TikTok went away and Reels came. So I was like, okay, now I'll put it here.
Mr. Puri, would you like to hand over the virtual trophy to Prajakta?
Prajakta, this is virtually handing it to you.
Thank you.
Our next winner in the Rising Stars category is Prakalpa Sankar, co-founder at Athlon. She also interacted with the top leadership of the India Today group. Let's take a look at that meeting.
So when you were working with the PMO, with the government, you were actually collecting the data from the ground, or you were taking it from published sources?
It was a mix, sir. So we were basically, think of us as a end-to-end. So when I was working with the government, this was in my previous company, Social Corps. So we were basically the consulting firm for all these projects that I mentioned. So it depends. So for example, in the Ujjwala Yojana, we started with the existing CRM systems, MIS systems. Then we took a lot of public data, so down to a village, we used a lot of satellite data, census data, things like that to pinpoint down to every single village. But finally, actually, we realized that there was still a big data gap. So we deployed a mobile app to then collect that data from the ground up and bring all of that together effectively. So we would basically figure out what data you need to make the decision, and then you would work backwards.
I have a question which Arun was, his favorite questions is in news meetings is that BharatNet and connectivity. And since you were talking about villages and collecting data from them, what is your experience of this so-called backbone of our communications? I mean, how are you able to collect all this data if you're not able to connect all the villages, or only 50% of the villages currently are connected?
Sure. Yeah, so I mean, lots of experiences, and that's a very long story. But in some ways, we needed to actually build technology that worked with the real life situation of India, right? Because the reality is that many of our villages are not connected. And sometimes, actually, the interesting thing about India is that most other parts of the world, you either have internet or you don't have internet. But in India, you actually have bad internet, which is actually a really difficult technology problem. So if you imagine, so we used to have these mobile apps where people would go and collect data. And once the data gets collected, it would sync. Now the problem is, if you don't have internet, the app will not sync. If you have internet, it will sync. The problem with India is that it will sync and then the internet will break. And then your entire so we actually had to build tech to basically figure out a way of chunking, like actually very deep tech problems. So figure out a way to chunk your data such that we were literally like syncing field by field, so that if internet connectivity breaks, it still doesn't mean the process needs to restart. So I mean, lots of stories, lots of war room stories I can tell you about all the villages that we had to go in and collect some of this data from.
Virtually giving it to you.
So, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
And our next award in the Rising Star category goes to Sonal Singh, co-founder and director, Fitter. Miss Singh also caught up with the top leadership of the India Today group. Let's take a look.
How does it work? Is it all you subscribe to it and it's kind of group lessons or one-to-ones, or how does it work?
Well, sir, it's a premium model. So our mission is to educate the end user that anyone can get fit. So all the information is provided for free. However, if you want one-on-one guidance, we have over 225 certified coaches from whom you can select, and they will guide you on your nutrition and fitness journey.
So the pandemic has been very good for Fitter?
Well, I would hesitate to use those words. I don't think it's been good for anyone. But at least, yes, people are prioritizing their health now more than ever. So there's no excuses. Everyone realizes the importance of working out, even if you can't get access to a gym. So in that sense, yes, at least people are focusing on their health more.
So have you had like a complete exponential increase in the number of sign-ins and sign-ups?
Yes, so we've actually had, over an increase in over 70% of traffic on our app, as well as, 30% month-on-month growth in terms of sales as well as paid users.
I request you to hand over the virtual trophy.
Maybe in the future sometime in person, but so this is congratulations.
Congratulations.
Keep up the great work you're doing.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor.
A big congratulations to all the winners. And with that, we conclude our first virtual Most Powerful Women in Business Awards. And of course, this was our 17th edition. Every year, putting together this issue leaves us enthused and inspired. We hope to be back again next year. Not virtually though. And of course, we'd like to thank our sponsors who made this event happen for us. Our presenting sponsor, Satyabama University, MG Motors, lifestyle partner, Bosch Home Appliances, and our holistic beauty partner, Oriflame. We'll be back again next year. Till then, keep doing the good work. Thank you.
Satyabama Institute of Science and Technology, Chennai.